What if I told you that your grandmother possessed culinary superpowers that could make Gordon Ramsay weep with envy? Picture this. A woman who could transform potato water into liquid gold, turn yesterday's bread into today's gourmet croutons, and create five-star meals from ingredients most people would throw away. She didn't need fancy gadgets, exotic spices, or YouTube tutorials. She had something far more powerful: generations of kitchen wisdom encoded in her DNA. While modern kitchens overflow with expensive appliances and Instagram-worthy ingredients, your grandmother was performing daily miracles with nothing more than salt, ingenuity, and an unshakable belief that every scrap of food deserved respect. She was part of an underground network of culinary rebels who refused to let anything go to waste, who could stretch a single chicken into a week's worth of meals, and who knew secrets that food corporations desperately wish they could bottle and sell. But here's the devastating truth. We let that empire crumble. Every time an elderly relative passes away, we lose an irreplaceable library of kitchen knowledge. Every forgotten recipe is a small tragedy. Every discarded cooking technique represents decades of trial, error, and perfection vanishing into thin air. We've traded wisdom for convenience, depth for speed, and flavor for efficiency. The food industry wants you to believe that cooking is complicated, that you need their processed solutions, their pre-made everything. But your grandmother knew better. She understood that the most extraordinary meals come from the most ordinary ingredients, transformed by knowledge that can't be Googled or purchased, only inherited, practiced, and passed down. This isn't just about cooking. This is about reclaiming a lost art form. The Great Culinary Amnesia. How we lost our kitchen souls in the span of just 2 generations. We've experienced the greatest culinary knowledge collapse in human history. Our grandmothers weren't just cooks. They were food scientists, preservation experts, flavor alchemists, and resourcefulness masters, all rolled into one flour-dusted apron. They lived through wars, depressions, and shortages that would send modern families into panic mode. Yet, they not only survived, they thrived, creating comfort, warmth, and unforgettable flavors from circumstances that would challenge today's most innovative chefs. Their kitchens were laboratories where impossible became possible, where scraps became feasts, and where love was literally the secret ingredient. Consider the profound shift. Your grandmother could walk into an empty pantry, eyeball a handful of potatoes, a few eggs, and some herbs, and conjure up a meal that fed a family with belly-warming magic. Today, faced with that stark scarcity, many struggle to prepare a simple dinner. This piece is a tribute. It is a call to action. Let us dig deep into Grandma's treasure chest of culinary secrets. Those practical, brilliant, and charmingly simple hacks that turned everyday meals into celebrations. It's time to bring those kitchen alchemy tricks back to the forefront of modern cooking. What you will discover: the secret ways Grandma used resources like potato water and coffee grounds to elevate humble dishes, forgotten. Preservation methods that kept families fed before refrigerators became commonplace. Baking hacks that transformed simple ingredients into heavenly pies and sweets. Creative leftover transformations that minimized waste and maximized flavor. Wartime and Depression-era adaptations that reflect resilience and resourcefulness, and much more. All grounded in tradition, but ready to inspire your modern culinary journey. Dive in and prepare to rediscover the humbling genius and heartwarming magic of Grandma's kitchen. Pantry hacks and ingredient tricks passed down through generations. Grandma's pantry was more than just a collection of jars and cans. It was a vault of culinary sorcery, where every ingredient had a purpose beyond its face value. Forgotten by many modern cooks, these pantry hacks transformed the ordinary into extraordinary. With minimal expense and maximum flavor. One of the simplest yet most ingenious tricks was using the water left over from boiling potatoes. Instead of discarding this starchy liquid, Grandma saved it to thicken soups and stews. This potato water, rich in natural starches, added a silky texture and subtle richness that rivaled creamy additions, without the cost or calories. During times of scarcity, such as wartime rationing, This trick not only saved money, but stretched meals further without compromising taste. Another overlooked gem was the addition of a pinch of salt to sweet baked goods. This subtle balance enhanced flavors, cutting the overpowering sweetness that can flatten cakes or cookies, and bringing depth to every bite. It's a small step in baking, passed down through generations, that perfectly exemplifies Grandma's attention to detail. Coffee grounds, often discarded, found a second life in the kitchen too. Grandma would add used coffee grounds to stews to enrich their flavor profile. The natural bitterness and earthiness created smoky undertones, masking any toughness in limited or cheaper cuts of meat. This was a smart and sustainable way to enhance meals when resources were tight. Preserving freshness was also critical in the era before modern refrigeration. Grandma knew that finely wrapping leftover meat in wax paper, rather than plastic wrap, allowed it to breathe just enough to prevent spoilage while maintaining moisture. This gentle protection extended the life of leftovers, reducing waste and keeping flavors intact. Vegetables on the edge of wilting were saved by a quick steam under a damp paper towel. This simple revival technique restored crispness and color, making the produce appealing again, perfect for busy households or those with limited access to fresh groceries. Other pantry gems included soaking cornmeal before baking cornbread, a step often skipped today for convenience, but one that created a golden, tender crumb that couldn't be beat. Turning day-old bread into homemade croutons delivered a fresh crunch to salads and soups, using every crumb with purpose. Freezing chopped herbs in olive oil cubes ensured fresh flavors year-round, preventing waste and speeding up meal preparation. The magic of cast iron wasn't lost on Grandma either. She favored cast iron skillets for cooking pancakes, appreciating their consistent heat retention and natural seasoning that created perfect golden crusts without excessive butter or oil. This traditional technique delivered pancakes with crispy edges and tender centers that made breakfast feel truly special. Grandma Quote's pantry was not just about storing food. It was about maximizing the potential of every ingredient, making it do more than expected through simple, time-tested methods. These forgotten hacks are a treasure trove for any cook seeking deeper connection with food and tradition. Wartime and Depression era. Cooking innovations and substitutions. The Great Depression and the Second World War were among the toughest chapters in modern history, yet they also sparked some of the most creative and enduring culinary innovations. When meat was rationed and luxuries scarce, grandmas across America devised ingenious substitutes and recipes that not only filled bellies, but also lifted spirits. Take sorghum syrup, a thick golden liquid made by boiling down the juice of sorghum cane. This humble syrup became a staple sweetener, valued not just for its taste, but for vital nutrients like iron, calcium, and magnesium. During an era when balanced diets were a luxury, sorghum wasn't just food. It was a beacon of survival and community, its production bringing neighbors together in harvest time celebrations. The power of substitution became an art form. Cottage cheese emerged as an unexpected protein powerhouse, containing more protein per pound than beef or lamb. When meat was scarce or expensive, this humble dairy product filled the gap admirably. Barley malt syrup replaced sugar in countless recipes, becoming essential for everything from bread to homemade root beer. Its preservation qualities also made it invaluable for creating jams and fruit preserves that could last through lean times. Canned goods, like Vienna sausages and canned ham, were essentials. While not gourmet delights, their long shelf life and versatility made them invaluable. Think of canned rabbit meat, once a huge part of military rations due to its lean protein and rapid reproduction rate, or canned liver, a nutritional powerhouse. Despite its unappealing texture and taste, mock cuisines also flourished, recipes designed to mimic expensive or scarce foods. Mock fish fillers made from milk, rice, and eggs, seasoned with herbs and spices, allowed families to enjoy familiar flavors when actual fish was unavailable. Mock chicken broth created from vegetable scraps provided rich, flavorful stocks without relying on expensive bouillon cubes. Similarly, Comma-Gelatine, beloved for its ability to turn liquids into solids, helped stretch meals and create impressive dishes from modest ingredients. Powdered gelatin became particularly popular during World War II. Serving as a filler that didn't deplete meat or dairy reserves while adding substance to meals, wartime cooking wasn't just about stretching supplies. It was about making the best of very little. Potato cakes paired with fried onions became a comforting staple, often traded and bartered, reflecting a culture of community and resilience. Scalloped potatoes and chopped picnic casseroles made from stale bread, canned meats, and whatever leftovers were available became family favorites. Meatloaf, a dish that combined ground meat with breadcrumbs soaked in milk, was elevated with a caramelized brown sugar glaze that added unexpected sweetness. This creative twist transformed a necessity into a celebration, proving that even during hardship, there was room for joy at the dinner table. Cabbage emerged as a Depression-era darling, affordable, nutritious, and versatile. Whether boiled, fried, or pickled into sauerkraut, it stretched meals and provided essential vitamins. Powdered eggs, a pantry staple, provided protein without the need for refrigeration, while vegetable scraps became the foundation for homemade broth, proving that nothing was wasted. Perhaps most remarkably, parsnips became Depression-era gold. These hardy root vegetables thrived in poor soil and cold weather, actually improving in flavor after frost. They could be boiled, roasted, mashed, or even used in desserts, contributing natural sugars to cakes and puddings. Their reliability and versatility made them essential for any frugal household. These innovations reflect not only the hardships of the times, but the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to let scarcity define their meals. They remind us that creativity, resourcefulness, and a bit of grit can turn even the leanest pantry into a feast. Food preservation methods. Before modern technology, before the luxury of reliable refrigeration and airtight packaging, Grandma mastered the art of preservation through time-tested methods that kept food fresh longer and flavors intact. Her kitchen was a sanctuary of conservation strategies that modern cooks can learn from. One classic method involved wrapping cooked meats carefully in wax paper. This technique preserved moisture while allowing the meat to breathe, preventing sogginess or premature spoilage. Without advanced refrigeration systems, such simple interventions extended the lifespan of leftovers and ensured no precious morsel went to waste. Blanching vegetables was another cornerstone practice. Grandma would briefly boil green beans or other produce, then immediately immerse them in ice-cold water, a process known as shocking. This stopped enzyme activity that causes discoloration and texture loss, preserving vibrant color, crispness, and nutrients, essential for both immediate enjoyment and freezing. The art of natural preservation extended to creative storage combinations. Storing apples with potatoes was a forgotten fridge hack that prevented sprouting. Apples release ethylene gas that slows potato sprouting, keeping them fresh longer without special refrigeration or chemicals. This natural pairing reflected Grandma's deep understanding of food chemistry long before science explained why it worked. Steaming limp vegetables under a damp paper towel was a quick rescue to restore freshness, a trick useful for busy households and those with limited access to fresh groceries. This gentle method revived texture without overcooking or nutrient depletion. Herbs, often fleeting in their freshness, found a new lease on life frozen as cubes in olive oil. These cubes could be effortlessly dropped into soups, stews, or sauces, releasing bursts of flavor while keeping herbs from wilting or spoiling. Even onions had their role beyond cooking. Placing a peeled onion in pots of boiling pasta or milk was a quiet guardian against messy boil-overs. The onion reduced surface tension on the liquid, stopping bubbles from spilling over. Saving time and thwarting kitchen chaos. Tomato preservation required special techniques that modern cooks often overlook. Peeling tomatoes by dipping them, briefly in boiling water, then cooling in cold water, loosened skins without damaging the flesh. This method was faster and cleaner than peeling by hand, maintaining tomato integrity for smooth sauces and bright flavors. Leftover citrus peels were not discarded either. Tossed into the garbage disposal, they naturally deodorized and cleaned with their essential oils, reflecting Grandma's holistic approach to kitchen care. Creating a simple buttermilk substitute by adding vinegar to milk ensured baking could continue, even when fresh buttermilk was unavailable. This acidic mixture mimicked buttermilk's tang and texture, preserving recipes that relied on acidity for proper leavening. These preservation hacks were born of necessity, but executed with elegance and foresight. They are practical lessons in sustainability and culinary respect for ingredients that modern kitchens would do well to revive. Baking secrets that transcend time. Grandma's baking was an art form where attention to small details made all the difference between an ordinary dessert and a masterpiece. In an age before instant mixes and convenience baking, her secrets were carefully guarded rituals that yielded tender, flavorful, and delightful baked goods. One of the simplest yet most profound tips was the cold butter method for pie crusts. Rather than relying on machines, Grandma would cut cold butter into the flour by hand, folding gently to preserve those tiny pockets of fat. These pockets puffed up during baking, creating the flaky layers that melted in your mouth. Something processed shortcuts cannot replicate. Another often overlooked step was resting pie dough. After mixing, she covered the dough ball with a towel and let it rest for at least 30 minutes. This resting allowed gluten strands to relax and moisture to redistribute, preventing shrinkage and brittleness during baking. It's a patient step that modern bakers often rush, but one that guarantees a tender, flawless crust. Testing cake doneness with a toothpick was a no-nonsense, low-tech secret to perfect baking every time. Inserted into the center, a clean toothpick indicates a fully baked cake. Any moist crumbs mean it needs more time. This method avoided overbaking, protecting the cake's delicate crumb and moisture. Adding a slice of peeled potato to brown sugar kept it soft and easy to scoop, a practical pantry hack before airtight containers became common. This gentle moisture source prevented the frustration of hard, clumped, sugar-ruining recipes, and time. Grandma S resourcefulness shone brightest in her flavor innovations. Using leftover coffee and chocolate cake batter was pure genius. The brewed coffee enhanced the cocoa's richness, balancing sweetness and deepening flavor without overpowering. It was a naturally economical way to turn a simple cake into a crowd pleaser that guests would remember long after the last crumb was eaten. Rolling out sticky dough between sheets of parchment paper was another clever trick. Instead of flouring surfaces and risking drying the dough, parchment sheets kept things clean, prevented sticking, and preserved dough moisture, speeding up preparation and cleanup. The magic of proper cooking techniques extended beyond baking. Cooking bacon in the oven, rather than on the stovetop, produced perfectly crispy strips with even cooking and no splatter mess. This hands-off method freed up stovetop space and contained grease, making it ideal for feeding large families. Reheating fried foods in a dry skillet instead of the microwave preserved crispness and improved flavor. This simple technique brought yesterday's fried chicken or potato pancakes back to life, without the disappointing sogginess that microwaving produces. Using broth-soaked bread to thicken gravy was an old trick that avoided lumps while adding rich flavor. The bread absorbed liquid and created smooth consistency naturally, enhancing the gravy's body without the risk of flour clumps or burnt thickeners. These baking secrets are timeless, small acts of patience, care, and knowledge that elevate humble. Ingredients into lasting memories at the family table. Leftover transformations and resourcefulness. Perhaps no aspect of Grandma's kitchen wisdom was more impressive than her ability to transform leftovers into entirely new and exciting meals. This wasn't just about avoiding waste. It was about seeing potential where others saw scraps, turning yesterday's dinner into tomorrow's favorite dish. The pancake transformation was pure genius. Instead of serving pancakes only at breakfast, Grandma would use thin pancakes as wraps, filling them with leftover meats, vegetables, or savory spreads. These portable meals stretched food further while adding variety to the weekly menu, showing how flexible thinking could reinvent familiar ingredients. Leftover meat found new life through careful handling. Resting cooked meat under foil before. Slicing wasn't just about presentation. It locked in juices and improved tenderness. This simple step made the difference between dry, disappointing leftovers and succulent second meals. Using a fork to fluff mashed potatoes instead of vigorous. Stirring prevented the gluey texture that ruins this comfort food staple. This gentle technique preserved air pockets, keeping potatoes light and creamy even when reheated. Bubble and squeak epitomized leftover creativity. This dish, made primarily from Sunday dinner leftovers, typically combined potatoes and cabbage. Fried until golden. It was the perfect solution for holiday meals that left enough food for several more meals, turning abundance into variety. The humble meatloaf became a canvas for innovation. Adding breadcrumbs soaked in milk or broth kept ground meat tender and moist while stretching the meat further, crucial for families watching budgets. This technique prevented the dry, dense results that plague many modern meatloaves. Even vegetable scraps had their starring role. Creating mock chicken broth from carrot peels, onion ends, and celery leaves produced rich, flavorful stock that rivaled expensive store-bought versions. This homemade foundation added depth to countless dishes while avoiding artificial additives and preservatives. The art of the casserole reached new heights during tough times. Chopped picnic casseroles combined stale bread, crackers, canned meats, and any available leftovers into ready-to-eat meals that could be enjoyed cold or hot. These dishes proved that creativity and necessity make the best partnerships, celebrating the soul of home cooking and practical ingenuity. What made Grandma's cooking truly special wasn't just the techniques, it was the mindset. Every meal was an opportunity to nurture, every ingredient a chance to create something meaningful. Her kitchen was a place where love was measured in pinches of salt, and patience was counted in minutes of resting dough. This philosophy extended to every aspect of food preparation. The careful attention to timing, the respect for ingredients, the understanding that good things come to those who wait. These weren't just cooking principles, they were life lessons served on dinner plates. The community aspect of Grandma's cooking cannot be overlooked. Recipes were shared, ingredients were traded, and neighbors helped neighbors. Sorghum syrup production brought entire neighborhoods together during harvest time, creating bonds that lasted lifetimes. Potato and onion bartering created networks of mutual support that went far beyond food. Modern cooking often focuses on individual achievement and social media presentation. But Grandma's cooking was about connection to family, to community, to the seasons, and to the land that provided sustenance. Bringing Grandma's wisdom back to your kitchen as we face our own challenges in the modern world. Food waste, budget, constraints, environmental concerns, and the desire for authentic flavor. Grandma's wisdom feels more relevant than ever. These weren't just survival techniques. They were expressions of creativity, care, and community that transformed the mundane act of feeding a family into something sacred. Start small. Try saving your potato water next time you boil potatoes for dinner. Add a pinch of salt to your next batch of cookies. Rest your pie dough and see the difference it makes. Use a toothpick to test your cakes and discover the joy of perfect baking. Think creatively about leftovers. Instead of reheating the same meal, ask yourself how those ingredients could become something new. Use pancakes as wraps, transform vegetable scraps into broth, turn stale bread into golden croutons. Embrace the philosophy. Cook with patience, respect your ingredients, and remember that the best meals are made with love, not just technique. Share your knowledge just as Grandma did, creating connections that go far deeper than food. Remember the greater purpose. These techniques aren't just about saving money or reducing waste, though they do both beautifully. They're about reconnecting with a way of life that valued resourcefulness, creativity, and community. They're about understanding that the simplest ingredients, treated with care and knowledge, can create the most memorable meals. In a world of fast food and instant everything, Grandma's kitchen wisdom offers something precious. The understanding that good things take time, that every ingredient has value, and that the act of cooking is an act of love. Which of Grandma's tricks will you try first? Will you save that potato water for your next soup? Add coffee to your chocolate cake? Rest your pie dough with the patience it deserves. Each small step connects you to generations of kitchen wisdom, honoring the memory of those who understood that feeding people well is one of life's greatest gifts. The secret kitchen empire your grandmother built may have seemed to crumble with time, but its foundation remains strong, waiting for a new generation of cooks to rediscover its treasures and build upon its wisdom. The revolution starts in your kitchen, one forgotten technique at a time.